Hey friends, Bethany live in Vienna, which is why you see Mozart right there behind me. But it's also going to sound probably pretty heavy in traffic. It really reminds me a bit of New York, where we're at right now. But what I wanted to share with you guys is in regards to the Battle of Thermopylae, which I actually just did a little recap of our moment that we passed through the Battle of Thermopylae. And I want to share something very powerful that resonated with me. And it's not even actually about that battle, even though there's a lot of incredible significance about it. It's about Xerxes. It's about who was ruling and trying to take over, really ruling the world. And so Xerxes, I don't have notes in front of me, maybe one day when I have more time, but all of you moms know that when we're called to motherhood, we do not have time to read or listen to things and take incredible notes. Not in this season. So maybe one day I'll be able to do that. And if I had that, I would have all the documentation down 100% correct for you. So you'll have to bear with me because you should just go look up the facts yourself. But here's what I want to remind you, for those of you who know that you have a voice and maybe you just need a little bit of encouragement to use your voice, okay? So in this story of Xerxes, this is 480 AD that the Battle of Thermopylae happened. And he's been taking over people, like taking over. And he's like, I already took over Athens. That's in Greece. I want to go take over a new spot. It's like a band coming down here or something. This is perfect to go with my whole story, okay? So anyways, Sparta gets wind of this. They're like, not on my book. Like, this is not happening. And in the end, as you guys know the story, the king Leonidas, he actually comes out with 300 men, and they basically block the Persian army from passing through. However, there's a traitor, which, you know, in the Bible it tells us, I mean, think of Jesus. Jesus knew that there was one at his table that was a traitor, and he still had him at the table. So in a way, it's almost like we have to accept that this is the fallen world that we're in, but it doesn't mean that we're to be bitter and we're to be unforgiving. Actually, Jesus was forgiving and he wasn't bitter. So to get back to my point, there was a traitor, and so that traitor led the Persian army around this other way because there's just these massive, like mountain cliffs basically, like you can't pass over it, but they led them down another path to get around where King Leonidas' men was blocking the valley to pass through to get to Sparta. And so they ended up killing those men. But because they held strong, and because, here's my point, I'll get to my next one, it's even more powerful. King Leonidas stood firm when others are like, it's better if you just surrender. He'll at least make you a commander or something. Just surrender. But he's like, no, we're free people. I am not surrendering. He chose to use his voice. Even though he died for his people ended up winning the battle because he went forward and protected them. And that's my point with Xerxes later. After this battle, which was the one that Xerxes lost, and he's a very, very, very prideful, powerful man, a tyrant, he ends up coming home and taking a bride. And whether you knew this or not, the bride that he takes is Esther. Esther is the bride that he takes. So here's my point. If this guy goes into places, kills people mercilessly, this guy doesn't care about people. This guy would listen to his right-hand man. He would listen to his right-hand man and go kill all the Jewish people. So why in the world would he, when his wife comes forward, unspoken for, listen to his wife, who he killed a prior wife because she wouldn't come forward when she was spoken for? That's a whole nother story, but still, it shows how much he's like, you don't do what I want, I kill you. His wife Esther comes forward to speak on behalf of her people, to speak up, to use her voice like King Leonidas did, to go, no, we're free people. King Leonidas lost his life, but went forward. Esther does the same thing. She's like, I may lose my life, but I will do it for our people. It's worth losing my life. His right-hand man hates that Esther spoke up. And so what happened is he listens to his wife, unheard of. If you look up his character list, this is not in his character list. And he ends up killing He ends up killing the man who was trying to go after the Jewish people, which makes sense. If you really think about, hold on a minute, Xerxes has been taking over everybody. He has no mercy for anybody. Of course he would want to go after and kill those people. Of course he would want to kill, the Jewish people. And he wouldn't feel bad. But he literally then goes and kills the man plotting to kill his wife's people. Why is that? All I can say is, it is the power of God, and God is in movement. He can help even bull-headed people change the way they would react. It's not in their character. It's not in their nature. They would never respond that way. They would never react that way. He can change it. Esther was willing to die. Leonidas was willing to die. Leonidas did die, and Esther did not. How powerful is that, though? And the thing is that we have to, I've had this overcome me a lot. We have to surrender ourselves and our wants in the form of a posture of prayer. God gave me this visual where he showed me all of these women in a battle, which fits with the Battle of Thermopylae. All of these women in battle, and the enemy army can see us. They're surrounding us. And normally people would be standing with their swords ready to fight, and they don't know where they're going to come from. We'd all be back to back ready in a circle, right? But no, God showed me they may be out there, but you don't even face them. You turn around and you face me because I'm in the center, and you literally lay on the ground with your sword in the air and your head down in the posture of prayer and surrender, and you do not even look up at them because it gives them power. You look at me, and by keeping your eyes on me, you win. And you have peace. You're not distracted. I was like, that is so good. So good. So that's even my reminder. But I'm also sharing this because I have a lot of friends, you've been praying for your marriages. And I want to share with you, this is very, very powerful. So I think the King Xerxes and Esther is important. Now, King Xerxes is not a believer of God. So here's my point here. Some of you may be in a marriage where you're also married to someone who's not a believer of God. I could share more on that another time. But the point that I want to make is, it is our duty as a woman of God to get into the posture of prayer. Before Esther went into the throne room unannounced, she fasted and she prayed, and she called the people to fast and pray with her. But she still did it whether they would do it or not. And there are times that the Lord is going to call us to fast and pray. There's times he's going to tell us to hold our tongue and just keep praying. But there's also times, as a godly woman, I am all about honor in the marriage, but there are also times as a godly woman that we as a godly woman have to speak truth to our husbands. And I say this because there are times that if we don't speak truth, we don't share, not in a nagging way, but a loving way. Jesus always spoke truth with love. We speak truth with love. If we come forward and share our voice as it's meant to be heard, then they know. If we don't, they think everything carries on just fine. Xerxes would have thought everything carried on just fine, but Esther shared using her voice, and there was power given to the king that the Lord transformed his mind to hear her and do what he was supposed to do. So I hope that excites you guys. It's not for us again to be nagging wives, but the man is the head of the household. And I know that is the thing that is missing, not just in the United States, but in the world. In the world, it is missing. It is massively missing. And how do we restore that? We have to be women who are not nagging. We have to be women in the posture of prayer, but we also have to be willing to use our voice and share with our husbands what is true with love. I think it's Philippians 4:8 where it says, think on these things. And that's basically, it's not just think on these things, but if you think on them and they're true, then speak them. So I hope that gives you a great takeaway. That was very inspiring and encouraging to me. So going to the Battle of Thermopylae was even more cool than, I probably would have expected. Anyone who's seen the movie 300 or something, that one's drawn out of characteristic quite a bit. But the example of anyone who's seen that or likes it, they would think that's cool too. But really understanding the power of using your voice and standing up for what's right and being willing to die for it in the right time. Some people are doing that and God didn't tell them to go stand up for stuff, and they're dying for no reason, or they're using their voice and hurting people. That's why I said we pray, and we're in the posture of prayer, and we do as God says, which there are things we're supposed to use our voice and be unafraid in using it. So anyways, love you guys. Thought that was a fun share. And if there's any more times that I get opportunities to share downloads like this, I will, because I definitely continue to get them as we travel through places, getting to see the world and see places where history is so ancient. I mean, it's just immersed in the soil. So it's pretty cool to be there, and I'll share as much as I can. Love you all. And hopefully this came through without any errors, but you can look it up yourself. Please do, because the more that you look it up, the more you learn, and the more it transforms your mind and your heart too. Hey friends, Bethany.